topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
This is Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. Do you want to live a more fulfilling life? Do you want to live your legacy and achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals? Well, coming up on Divya Parekh's Beyond Confidence, you will hear real stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, and achievers who have stepped into discomfort, shattered their status quo, and are living the life they want. You will learn how relationships are the key to achieving your aspirations and financial goals. Moving your career or business forward does not have to happen at the expense of your personal or family life, or vice versa. Learn more at www.divyaparekh.com, and you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. This is Beyond Confidence, and now here's your host, Divya Parekh.
Good morning, listeners. It's Tuesday, and I hope you had wonderful holidays. And I want to wish each and every one of you a wonderful rest of 2023 with a lot of joy and wonderful times with your loved ones. So today we have a wonderful guest for you. It's about helping and kindness that we stress upon so much. So I want to thank each and every one of you who have got our books, whether it is Expert to Influencer or the Entrepreneur's Garden. Expert to Influencer will help you position yourself to create meaningful impact. And it's just not about numbers and likes. It's about making that difference, even if it is a difference to one person. Always remember, a one person impacted is a circle impacted, because every person has their own circle. And the Entrepreneur's Garden is going to help you build those meaningful relationships with time, yourself, with money, and get results in your life and live the life you deserve. And remember the kindness circle. Keep that kindness going. Just 1 hour a month. Help someone with no strings attached. And today we are going to be talking about how that kindness is being exploded through our guests. Welcome, Meredith.
Hi, Divya. It's so great to be with you guys today. I am so excited to introduce you to Staff Sergeant Daniel Gilead. He's one of our wounded warriors, and Helping a Hero builds adapted homes for wounded warriors. And I wanted Daniel to share us a little bit of his story so that your listeners and viewers could really catch a glimpse of what our heroes go through and how Helping a Hero is helping to solve their adaptation issues in their homes.
Absolutely. So first of all, thank you, Meredith, for sharing. And thank you, Daniel, for joining us at the last minute. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for the services you have given. And thank you to you and all the veterans and all our heroes and sheroes out there. So welcome, Daniel.
Thank you. And one of the things that we love to say is you are worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for having me on this morning. I guess I'll jump right into it. Wounded or disabled individuals have lots of challenges between balance and just function in a regular house with narrow doorways, with getting in and out of showers or getting in and out of a bathtub, missing a leg. You either have to sit on the side of the tub and kind of swing one leg over carefully and then ease your way into the tub, or you have to figure out a way of being able to grab a hold of something stable and kind of hop in, which is extremely dangerous. I mean, even putting a sock on one leg is a bit of a challenge because you don't have the other leg to stabilize you. Getting dressed, making meals, doing dishes. Veterans tend to not ask for help because they've been so conditioned to, don't ask a whole lot of questions, get it done, stay focused. overcome all of your obstacles. Well, now you have this challenge, and it can defeat you. You can get mindsets that create limitations and disabilities and frustrations if you allow it.
Mm,
And with these adaptive houses, it not only changes the veteran's life, but it changes the family life. And I believe
mm,
it'll impact generations. One of the things that it impacts the veteran's life, for instance, a veteran has a schedule where they get up early in the morning, they go, go, go. Every single day, they've got a set of what I call marching orders. They've got direction, they've got purpose, they understand their value according to the guys, depending on them on the left and the right. And then they end up combat wounded. And one of the things that they deal with is survivor's guilt. You know, why me? Why did I survive? Or why did I get hurt? Why am I
mm.
going through all this and that? You know, and so while they're trying to deal with those thoughts in the hospital, then they get set free from or discharged from the military, and then they're like, okay, now what? And so now they've got all this bottled up energy. They've got all of these things that they were,
Yeah.
nonstop, and now all of a sudden life comes to a screeching halt. And you
Mm,
compile that with possibly medications, pain
right.
issues, severely burnt lung issues. They can't deal with bacteria and infectious stuff, and even dust in the home. You're dealing with, you know, a veteran trying to get up and get around, take care of his family, and he's got blisters on his stump, or he still
Oh,
has shrapnel that's cutting into bone, muscle, and tissue, and everything else.
oh my
So these,
God.
yes, so I mean, these are just some of the many things we could talk all day long about the challenges, but the houses, the house gives the veteran and the family a sense of security, a resting place, a place to recover, a place to really sift through their thoughts, but at the same time, it inspires them to go out and pay it forward.
Now, Divya, one thing about Daniel is he actually served in Iraq. And back in 2006, he was hit by an IED and lost his leg. And what's amazing is he has actually raised a family and raised children. He's now a grandfather, if you can believe that. But when I met him, he lived in a 900 square foot home with holes in the floor. And he had to hop through every door and had to hop into the basement to get to his laundry on one
Oh my
leg.
goodness.
And none of his kids even had matching shoes. And he had an ex-wife trying to keep him from moving forward and being able to help his family. And that's really what's amazing, because God has brought him an incredible helpmate that for the last, 15 years has helped him rebuild his life. And I think that helping a hero coming alongside them now gives them hope and an opportunity to really think about the future. And he has been going around our homes and setting up the displays as we presented the keys, even last Thursday when we were in North Carolina. We had another amputee married with 3 kids, and they, for the very first time, have a home of their own after 15 years of moving,
Mm,
and going through rehab.
it's Daniel, I cannot thank you enough from the bottom of my heart for what you have gone through. And Meredith, I'm so glad that you're doing that. And listeners, it's that time of the year. I mean, it's not just during the holiday season, it's time to open up our hearts and help our veterans, because they are the reason we breathe in this free air and we have all the freedom that we do. I mean, the sacrifices y'all make. It just, I can say that I, I can't even imagine what you have gone through, Daniel. It just breaks my heart that
It,
our,
it's
our veterans have to go through this. We need to have a better, excuse me, we need to have a better system where we can, reintegrate you in the mainstream, like you said, that the life comes to a screeching halt. It's super important to do that.
Well, and this is the beautiful thing about helping a hero, because again, it's given direction, purpose, value. A grateful nation stands behind helping a hero. The veteran gets to see the manifestation of a grateful nation. And it, like I said, it gives them a new set of marching orders. And then the spiritual side of it, I became a pastor and a chaplain after hearing God's voice. And so I do the spiritual stuff behind the scenes. I want to know how that veteran's doing. And it takes a veteran to talk to another veteran,
Absolutely. So
because most veterans don't even want to thank you for their service. So it takes another veteran to draw out what they're truly going through. And that's kind of what I do behind the scenes. And I'm so grateful for Meredith, Iler, and Helping Hero. Since September, we've done 20,000 road miles. And I mean, just praying for people and speaking to people behind the scenes and then giving the house away or doing the groundbreaking. I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. God literally took the worst day of my life and turned it into the best day of my life. And I'm so blessed working with Helping a Hero. If you'd have told me 20 years ago this is what I'd be doing, I would say absolutely impossible.
I see. So let's dive into a little bit into Meredith. Tell us, how did Helping a Hero come into existence?
Well, Helping a Hero really got started because as a former congressional wife, I had had the opportunity to save the USO from bankruptcy and kind of got a reputation as a fix-it person. And so about 7 or 8 years later, there was an opportunity that General Tommy Franks had lent his name to a startup charity, and they had promised 7 heroes a home. But 9 months later, they hadn't raised any money, had no plan. And I got a phone call from his office and said, hey, one of these veterans is in Houston. Could you help? And I said, of course. Now, 6 days later, Katrina happened. So had Katrina not happened, I probably would have helped General Franks build that one house and moved forward with all the other things I was already doing. However, because Katrina happened, instead of getting that home funded for a blind hero in about 2 weeks, which was my original plan, it took me about 4.5 months, but we did get him home for Christmas on December the 16th that year. And through that process in Houston alone, I met a single amputee, a double amputee, a triple amputee, a single arm amputee, a double arm amputee, a blind hero, a burned hero, and someone who was really struggling with a TBI and couldn't be left alone. Oh. So then it's like, do you do this one house and move forward, or do you try to help all these other people? So I went to our mayor and I said, look, you have the U.S. Conference of Mayors. I have access to our congressional spouses, both of us bipartisan. Let's do this together and form a template in Houston. So we did. We did the first 15 houses in Houston, or most of them. Daniel's originally wasn't. But what was interesting in that process is what we learned was these heroes don't want to take up a spot. So the single amputee isn't saying, give me a house. The single amputee is saying, oh no, put me at the back of the line. The double amputee needs it first. And so through that process, we have now awarded over 200 houses in 27 states. And then about 2 years ago, Johnny Morris, the founder and CEO of Bass Pro Shops, said, hey, we want to help. And he agreed to fund 10 homes. And as we were surprising the very first hero, they were getting ready to celebrate their 50th anniversary at Bass Pro Shops. And Johnny Morris on national TV said, do I have a minute? We want to do more. And we want to challenge America that we will fund 25% of the next 100 houses that Helping a Hero is going to build. And so we have selected 40 of those 100. And we've had, just a month ago, we did a count. We had 32 houses in varying stages of construction in 16 states. We have welcomed home almost 10 heroes just in the last 45 days. We've done another half dozen groundbreakings. including a triple amputee last Monday in Miami, Florida. And we're so excited that America is stepping up. And one of the largest home builders, Lennar, they stepped up and said, hey, we want to do 10 houses. And they're actually doing that home in Miami, in their headquartered hometown. And we also have the opportunity to partner with MasterCard and Capital One and Black Rifle Coffee, Richard Childress Racing from NASCAR, and Toyota. And it's neat that each of those companies said, we'll pay the other 75%. And that allowed us to surprise 6 heroes at the Grand Ole Opry that they were going to get a house. So we're just so thrilled that America's stepping up. Individuals are stepping up, whether they can give $10, $100, $1,000. Some of our national ambassadors are Paula Dean. And most people don't know that, yes, she's a celebrity chef, but both of her parents were amputees. And she never knew a father that had 2 legs because her dad lost his leg at 16 years old riding a bicycle to work. And the neat thing about celebrities like that who've lived it, she watched her dad fall every single day of her life until he died at 40. And so she gets the fact that these guys, without us and without America saying, hey, we support you, we're going to catch you, and we're going to make sure that you thrive and don't just survive. And so that's really what you and I are doing today, because we have 2 or 3 heroes that we're ready to surprise with the news. They're going to get a house if we just get more funding here at the end of the year. And we'd love to do it on New Year's Day.
Oh, absolutely. So definitely. And do you think Danielle can tell us a couple of success stories, or if you have some success stories, that would be awesome? Because
well,
so
I tell you
share with
what,
us the journey. Like, Danielle shared the journey of him, where he was and where he came. And I am positive that our listeners are going to help. I know that once this show is over, I'm going to head out to Helping a Hero, right? That's where I go to.
Yes.
And do that, because this has just touched my heart. I'm still all emotional about it.
Yeah. And let me tell you 2 or 3 just
Sure.
specifics. Number one is one of my favorites. There was a guy named Sergeant First Class John Wayne Walding, born on the 4th of July. He was a Green Beret, Silver Star, Bronze Star, Purple Heart. And you know what? He fell in his shower multiple times, and he's tough. And he literally taught sniper training after he got injured to police officers. This guy is tough, but he couldn't make it in an unadapted home, because without that adapted shower, especially when you're on one leg, add some soap and water and it's not safe. And so the government said, single amputees, you don't need an adapted home. We're not going to even give you $1. And finally, we got them added to the list so we could go in. We were the only charity building homes for single amputees before the government stepped up and said, we'll help some too. And so, that's what it's all about, is people coming together. But when Sergeant First Class John Wayne Walding walked in his home for the first time and saw his shower, his first words out of his mouth were, this home feels like a bear hug from America.
Oh,
isn't that neat?
Oh,
because it just captured it. And he says every single day, and he's been in his house now for years, and every single day he goes, America believes, just like Daniel said, my service was worth it. And the heroes say, you are worth it, because they're giving us the freedom. They volunteered to raise their hand and go and serve and place themselves in harm's way. So the battle didn't come to America, and we didn't have stateside tragedies like what we had on 9/11. And one neat thing to tell you about is on 9/11, we had a hero named Sergeant Jose Rivera. He's a Marine. And he went to go board the train that morning, and he realized he forgot his badge. He happened to live with his cousin They both worked on the 91st floor of the World Trade Center North. He went home and got his badge, and his cousin got on train 1. And he got on train 2. And when he got to the destination and came upstairs, the towers were falling and landed on him, and he put him into a coma for about 4 or 5 days. So his family thought they'd lost both of their loved ones. But when he woke up, he was able to reach out to his family, and about 3 weeks later, they found his cousin's finger and were able to positively identify him. And then what did Jose do? He didn't say, oh, I'm mad, I'm going to go beat someone up. He said, wow, God has given me a second chance at life, and I want to live for both of us. I want to live for me, and I want to live for my cousin. And so he joined the Marines. He went overseas. He took the battle to the enemy, and he wanted to make sure that his cousin's honor was defended. And then he lost a leg. And we have his house under construction right now because you know why? For the last 15 years, he never felt worthy of getting a home because he was like, I already got the best gift. I got my life. And the fact that God has spared my life twice, that's enough. And I want other people to be able.
Selfless. I mean, this is as selfless as you can come. And
and it takes somebody, and it takes someone to nominate a hero.
If you look at regular people like you and I mean, you are way ahead. You are helping all these heroes. So kudos to you, Meredith. But on so many days, if the weather is not good, we'll be complaining. And here is our hero saying that, oh, God has spared my life, and that's enough. So yes, we definitely need to help. And
these are the heroes that you're able to help. I'll tell you one other story. And by the way, this was probably my favorite story of the whole year, is that last spring, we had another wounded warrior, and we'd already interviewed him. We'd already approved him. He just didn't know it yet. Well, he had gone out and spent his life savings to propose to his Marine girlfriend of 5 years. And he at the time was living with her. And he had already planned it all, already gotten the rings. The night before he was going to propose, she broke up with him. All of a sudden, his entire life looked devastating. He had these rings, he had no money, he had no home, and he didn't know where to turn. Fortunately, many heroes in that situation, that's when they tip on suicide because they feel like there's no options and they don't want to admit that they failed. And so this hero luckily picked up the phone and called his parents and said, hey, Mom, I'm coming home. Didn't tell her what happened, just said, I'm going to come stay with y'all for a few days. Well, we were already planning a surprise award of the house in Colorado. But when we found out he was in San Antonio, I quickly called Bass Pro Shops and I said, hey, could we surprise a hero tomorrow and let him know that he's getting a house? Because we're breaking ground in 10 days and he doesn't even know he's getting a house. And so we literally got 40 Americans who joined us with flags waving. And this hero comes down the stairs from looking at kayaks with his parents, thinking he was there to buy a kayak. And then he was like, oh my gosh, it's so awesome to see all the flags. What's this for? And we said, it's for you. We want to give you a home. Tears rolled down his face, which you don't see very often on Marines. And as he cried, he said, this is perfect timing. You'll never know. And we didn't know until we got to the groundbreaking and he told us the rest of the story. And he literally also told us that his best friend committed suicide in front of him.
Oh,
the
no.
day before his alive day.
Oh.
And that was his best friend that was journeying through, and they were keeping each other on track. But he too said, I'm going to live for both of us. Mm-hmm. And that's the only reason that even when this devastating thing happened, again, losing his best friend was the first one. And he wrote a book called From Guilt to Forgiveness. because he had to forgive his best friend, and he had to forgive himself for not being enough to keep his best friend alive.
Oh,
And then to feel like I'm not enough for this girl that I love. And now he has a beautiful home and an incredible future. And he is so excited because God took that person out of his life just before the blessing, so that he was not, tempted, or she might not have been tempted to just marry him for the house or just to have this stability in their lives.
right. And God acts in mysterious ways. So,
He does.
Daniel, you had mentioned about saying that veterans do not open up easily because they're being trained to have that mindset. So, can you share a story where you have helped veterans come out of that mindset and how they can seek help? Because if any veterans are listening, we want to let them know it's okay to ask for help.
Yes.
Yeah, it's actually deeper than that. We have a level of pride that's instilled in us that we go through as an honor of serving our country. We don't expect even a thank you, and we feel like we're the answer for when people are struggling. That we want to be that example. And then when your world comes crashing down and you start dealing with all of these thoughts and all these doubts and these fears, the last person you're going to talk to is somebody who wasn't there that can't understand. And through talking to Vietnam vets and World War II veterans, I had this revelation that people don't want to be judged by somebody who wasn't there. And that's what it comes down to. And then there's this level of pride that keeps, men are supposed to be big, tough. Like Meredith said, rarely do you see a Marine weep unless you're around me. I don't have a problem. I get pretty emotional pretty quick, and I don't have a problem with throwing that out there. But it really takes a veteran who's been there and done that. And one of the gifts I have found is through talking about when I meet these veterans, that I can feel that they're struggling. First thing I do is I open up and I talk about the things that I went through. I talk about my experience on the battlefield. I'm very raw and very open about it. I don't leave any stone unturned. And then they'll naturally say, "Oh man, this is what I went through." And I've seen Vietnam veterans and World War II veterans, people that have never talked about their issues, open up and start talking. And within the Bible, it says that when you bring your issues into the light, those issues can no longer hide. And when you have somebody that can say, "I've been there and I've done that. This is how I've gone through it. Let me walk this out with you," they light up because they feel like they're all alone.
Right.
And these veterans, the young men and women that have received houses with Helping a Hero, that work with Helping a Hero, some of my best and dearest friends, they've had these revelations also. They see that they're the opportunity, that they got that second chance at life, that God is good, and they just want to pay it forward. And they have the same revelation. You get around some of these young men and women, and they're inspiring.
Oh,
And that's what we wanted. We know that there's young men and women and children looking up to us. We know that there's eyes on us at all times. People we may not even know that are looking for inspiration. And we decided that we were going to become that inspiration that we were looking for that we couldn't find. And so we know that we're constantly being watched to see how we're going to respond to things. We've got a gentleman named Alex Del Rio, who was a United States Marine, 4th Recon, lost both of his legs below the knees right after he got his house, right after he got healed in the hospital. He went right back to teaching special forces.
Oh,
missing
wow.
both of his legs. We have a young man named Travis Strong who has no legs, and he benches over 400 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And we've got
Amazing.
veterans all over the United States that watch his YouTube videos, and then when they meet him, they're like, "You're that guy. You're the guy that inspired me to not commit suicide and continue to march on." We have a young lady named Sue Downs missing both of her legs below the knees. They traveled 8 hours down the side of a mountain through snow to save her life. 8 hours
Oh,
after her legs were blown off. And just so many amazing inspirational stories. I could go on all day long.
well, Danielle, I will say one thing. I'm so inspired. I'm just getting goosebumps. Yes, I had tears and in my eyes and became emotional, but I can just kind of share at the same time when we open up our hearts. There's so much inspiration. And as you said, when we look up to our heroes, it's not just in their service, they're heroes, and it's the mindset that when they come out, that selflessness. And it's time for America to give them a bear hug, as they mentioned. And definitely, we are behind you 100%. So, Danielle, if a young veteran is looking for support, whether it's a hero or a shero, where can they find that mental health support before they may be ready to just kind of come out and connect with anyone? Are there any YouTube videos that they can do it on their own? What are the resources and where they can get?
Um, well, Helping a Hero, you can become a volunteer with Helping a Hero. You can go out and find a veteran to nominate to Helping a Hero to receive a house. I throw my information out constantly. Anybody can find me on the internet or on Facebook or on YouTube. I have people contact me all the time. I'm happy to give my phone number out, and I'm more than.
And Divya, let me respond to that.
Sure.
If it's okay,
Please, go ahead.
there is a phone number that I will get to you. There are veterans manning an 800 number 24/7 to prevent suicide. We have quite a number of our heroes who serve on that phone support line. And that's really the number we need to get out to people in crisis, because the neat thing is that we don't know where people are, and there is no one shoe fits all, just like we all have different shoe sizes. But I think the thing that's neat about, there are so many different organizations and support groups. And I think the most important thing is that crisis help for that first phone call, because it only takes 1 second to make a decision to commit suicide. And yet so many times it's, if you just look around the corner, help and hope is there. We actually had a veteran while we were building a home. He was 4 hours away saving another hero's life from suicide. But his 12-year-old daughter, who had epilepsy, had been bullied at school for years. But when she transferred from elementary school to middle school, the file didn't transfer. And this was only the second week of school. And this kid bullied her for over 4 minutes in the hallway. And she got in her mom's car crying. She literally said to her mom, "I'm not going to school tomorrow." And her mom was like, they talked about it, but then her mother had to go pick up the son from football. And we already owned the property in another school district. We could have easily made one phone call the next day and gotten her transferred, and just the mom was going to have to, drive her. But she didn't know that. She didn't think about those dots. And when her mom came home, she had hung herself in the closet.
Oh, no.
And she was 12 years old. And I think that is just an example of, here the hero's 4 hours away rescuing someone. And yet here in his own home, he thought he had it buttoned down. They thought they had the protocols from the leadership of the school. And we passed something in Texas called David's Law that really gave people hope that we can stop this. Because so many times the person is crying out, but we don't realize how close they are to that decision. And so I think it is very important that we listen, because sometimes it's not going to be veteran to veteran that's going to save their life. They do have things called lifelines. And that's one thing that we in our organization try to make sure of, is that every one of our heroes has lifelines in place, that at 2:00 in the morning, if they have any crisis, anything that they're struggling with, and they have somebody to call. And if you agree to be a lifeline, you might get that middle of the night call. I've been a lifeline for some other heroes, and I'm one of those who can get that call at 2 a.m. and be awake and address it immediately. So, I think that we all know what our limitations are, and we all know what we can handle. And sometimes the veterans don't know where that line is, because they're still trying to figure out how PTSD impacts me. They might be able to deal with the physical injuries. We have so many single, double, triple amputees in our program, But sometimes it's harder to deal with the demons that come at night, in the middle of the night, or when you have survival's guilt and you go, why did I live? Why did my cousin die? Why didn't he forget the badge? Why am I the one that forgot the badge and lived? And I think that when you deal with that survivor guilt, we have another national ambassador of our program called Shiloh Harris. He was a staff sergeant. He lost 3 young soldiers. And he says, why them? Why did they die and I live?
Oh,
And that's the question every day. Why did I live? Why did they die? And
oh,
is the life I'm building worth their sacrifice? And I think that kind of goes back to where when you do live, you feel like there's an extra burden of success or an extra burden of accomplishment that you're placing on yourself. So when you have failure, which everyone does, we all have failure, whether it's in marriages or we don't feel like we parented as well as we could. There's so many things we fail on every day, but we have to forgive ourselves and allow other people to also have forgiveness. We need to forgive and really have that olive branch instead of holding on to those grudges or holding on to those hurts that haunt us.
yeah, we can't even fathom what they're going through. So there may be people in our listenership who may be thinking that besides donating, how else can I get involved? Can you share a few quick things how
Sure. Well,
general
we love,
masses can get involved?
yeah, we absolutely love to get people involved. The good news is we've built houses in 27 states. So we have heroes all across the country. We love it. Like we had a little 17-year-old girl that at 10 years old, her mom called and said, my daughter wants to have a bake sale. Is that okay? And we said, sure. So we told her kind of how to do it, how to, send the check to the 501c3. And we provided them some materials so they could raise the money. And every morning before school, she would go in and have a bake sale for about 2 months. And then she would send us the money. And she would do that every year. And then when she got to be older during COVID, she actually said, I want to have a virtual fun run. And she actually raised almost $20,000 in that fun run. And over the course from 10 years old to 17 years old, on her own, with just her sitting at that table and doing all of that, she funded an entire home for a wounded warrior before she was 18 years old. Now, how awesome is that? That we're parenting patriots, that we're helping each of us, kind of going back to World War II. The government said, hey, can you just save some foil? Can you bring it and we'll recycle it? We'll get some money for the war. Can you just bake a cake for someone in the hospital? Can you take them cookies? There's so many things to do. But right now, there's not really a call to action. And after 9/11, they're like, hey, the best thing you can do for America is to go shopping. And I think that if we just would have said the best thing to do is look to your right, look to your left. If you see a wounded warrior at Starbucks or at Black Rifle Coffee or out and about at Burger King or McDonald's, think about buying them a hamburger. Just say thank you for your service. There's so many things we can do. But for our organization, for Helping a Hero, we have groundbreakings and welcome homes in major cities across the country. Just in the last 2 months, we've been in Florida, Texas, North Carolina, South Carolina, Colorado, Arizona. We're everywhere. We're getting ready to be in Ohio. We have 2 groundbreakings coming up. We've got groundbreakings coming up in Idaho, Washington State. So we're coast to coast. And we would love to have those who want to get involved. We'd love to have them come out. We'd love to get volunteers to just help us with these groundbreakings and welcome homes. We had a little bunco group buy a grill for our hero that moved in on Thursday. So, whatever it is that you want to do as a service project, we would love to partner with you. And we have great partners like Ashley Furniture that come alongside us and help provide furniture. But we need interior designers, because that's not our skill set, that can come in and make it look beautiful. And even just giving it a few hours, there's always something to do. And we'd love to get people involved, however their skill set enables them to help.
And that's amazing. So what I'm hearing is, Meredith, it's you can find your skill set, and there's so many different ways to help a hero. And this has just opened my eyes, my heart even more. And Danielle, again, I want to thank you and every veteran and every Shira and hero who are in the active duty or off duty. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being our heroes and Shiros. So, and thank you, Meredith, for the work you're doing. Thank you for joining. And listeners, it's time for giving. And it's not just today, throughout the year. Let's open up our hearts, help out in whichever way you can. So the website is helpingahero.org, and be sure to head out there. And thank you, everyone. Keep the kindness going, and we will see you next time. Until then, be well, take care, and as we step into the New Year's, let's start giving lots and lots of bear hugs out there. Be well and take care.
Thank you for being part of Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. We hope you have learned more about how to start living the life you want. Each week on Beyond Confidence, you hear stories of real people who have experienced growth by overcoming their fears and building meaningful relationships. During Beyond Confidence, Divya Parekh shares what happened to her when she stepped out of her comfort zone to work directly with people across the globe. She not only coaches people how to form heart connections, but also transform relationships to mutually beneficial partnerships as they strive to live the life they want. If you are ready to live the life you want and leverage your strengths, learn more at www.divyaparekh.com. And you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. We look forward to you joining us next week.